Welcome to the major events of Afghanistan on Friday, August 1st. Despite the suspension of U.S. foreign aid to Afghanistan, the U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, or SIGAR, says that 3 programs are still operating in the country. In its 68th quarterly report, which was recently published and submitted to the U.S. Congress, this agency stated that activities such as the Scholarship Fund for Women, support for students' educational success in Afghanistan, and the Afghanistan Poppy Survey by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime are ongoing. In this report, we examine the details of these programs and the reasons for their continued operation.
The Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, SIGAR, says that while all U.S. foreign aid to Afghanistan has been halted, there are still 30 programs operating in the country. In its 68th quarterly report, which was recently published and submitted to the U.S. Congress, the agency stated that these 30 programs are as follows: a Scholarship Fund for Women, support for the educational success of students in Afghanistan, and the Afghanistan Poppy Survey. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. SIGAR added that the U.S. State Department has informed the agency that it has now taken over responsibility for funding this memorandum. According to SIGAR, the Women's Scholarship Fund program will continue until 2028, and the program supporting the educational success of students in Afghanistan will continue until 2026. While, according to SIGAR, these programs were originally supposed to end by June 30th. SIGAR further stated in its report that the agency has not been able to clarify the specific reasons for the termination of other U.S. aid programs in Afghanistan. However, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, had said after the suspension of U.S. foreign aid to Afghanistan that these aids and general bureaucracy do not align with American interests and, in many cases, are at odds with the country's values. The U.S. State Department had also stated that the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, has deviated from its primary mission, which is to advance U.S. interests abroad. Meanwhile, according to information from international organizations, USAID's assistance accounted for about 35% of the total foreign aid to Afghanistan. The U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, or SIGAR, also added in its report that it has received conflicting information regarding the Taliban's attempts to interfere in the process of transferring equipment from U.S. operational agencies that have ceased their activities. SIGAR has stated that the Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance, or BHA, reported to this office that in May, the Taliban twice stormed the office of one of the operational agencies in Kabul City and forcibly took all remaining assets, including 2 armored vehicles and sensitive security equipment. The value of this equipment is estimated to be around $42,000, and it was supposed to be handed over to another non-governmental organization. In addition, according to this report, the staff of the mentioned organization also faced verbal and physical threats from the Taliban during these incidents. The UN Office in Afghanistan has also reported increasing challenges in implementing drug distribution programs. Previously, several international organizations have also reported on Taliban interference in the process of distributing humanitarian aid, as well as in the design, implementation, and approval of various operational programs, and on threats and harassment of their staff by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Although the Taliban government has not recently commented on this matter, in the past it has denied interfering in the affairs of aid organizations. This 91-page SIGAR report also addresses other topics such as humanitarian needs, international engagement, security, the economy, and the fight against drugs in Afghanistan.
The German news agency has reported that among the dozens of Afghans deported from Germany, 3 were mentally ill patients. This action has sparked much debate about the legality of deporting people with mental illnesses. More details in this report.
2 weeks ago, Germany deported 81 Afghan migrants who had been convicted of crimes back to Afghanistan. This news isn't new, but what has recently been reported is that among these Afghans, there were 3 individuals who suffered from mental illness. The German news agency dpa has reported that these 3 Afghans were being kept in a psychiatric hospital in southern Germany. However, Joachim Herrmann, the interior minister of the German state of Bavaria, said yesterday, Thursday, that all the Afghans were deported according to the law and that all legal procedures were observed during their deportation process. He emphasized that these individuals were people who posed a serious threat to the internal security and the people of Bavaria. The German news agency DPA, quoting the Interior Minister of Bavaria, reported that he said the rule of law means that such criminals should be deported in accordance with all German and European Union laws. However, a person who was caring for one of these psychiatric patients said that although the patient had been told he would be deported from Germany, in their view, this action was nevertheless illegal. The DPA news agency did not name this person, but quoted them as saying that if there are not sufficient medical facilities to treat a patient in their own country, meaning Afghanistan, then they should not be deported from Germany. At the same time, Joachim Herrmann, the Interior Minister of Bavaria, rejected this claim and said that in special cases, there is no reason to prevent the deportation of such individuals. At the same time, it has been reported that medical specialists evaluated these patients at the airport before deportation and stated that their mental condition was suitable and they were able to fly. Meanwhile, the spokesperson for the Prime Minister of Bavaria, Markus Söder, said that those who were deported were serious criminals who had been given hospitality, but they seriously abused this hospitality. Meanwhile, an organization called Pro-Assel, which is an agency supporting refugees, told a local German radio station that the deportation of psychiatric patients who were staying in the hospital was an irresponsible act.
The International Organization for Migration states that nearly 5 million Afghans were affected by floods and natural disasters earlier this year. In this report, we have addressed the impact of these events on people's lives and internal migration, which we invite you to pay attention to.
After the heavy rains and severe floods in several provinces of Afghanistan in recent months, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, has reported that around 5 million people across Afghanistan have been affected by severe floods and heavy snowfalls so far this year. On Wednesday, July 30th, the organization warned in a video note on its X page, formerly known as Twitter, that climate risks in Afghanistan are on the rise. The International Organization for Migration has announced that in the first quarter of this year, 175,000 people have been displaced within the country, with 79% of these cases caused by climate change-related incidents and natural disasters. The organization added that more than 396,000 people have also been forced to migrate. The International Organization for Migration has stated that rural communities have suffered the most damage in these incidents, with their homes destroyed and facing shortages of water and drinking water. The IOM also added that food insecurity has been the biggest concern for the population during this period, with 47% of communities citing food shortages as their main challenge. Meanwhile, some of the flood victims in Afghanistan say that the floods have destroyed their homes, and since they have not been able to rebuild them, they have been forced to migrate. Hapan Moradi, one of the residents of Central Baghlan, spoke about this.
As a result of the floods that occurred in Central Baghlan province, our homes were destroyed and washed away. It knocked down our walls and caused us financial losses. We ourselves, along with our children, fled. Right now, we are okay. Now we have become migrants. We need help now.
One of the orchard owners in Maidan Wardak province, who did not want his name mentioned in the report, said that in the past 2 years, his orchards and farmlands have been destroyed by consecutive floods, and so far, no organization has helped them.
We have suffered a lot of damage. We had about 200 green trees. All of them have dried up and been destroyed. We used to make about 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees from it every year. Only once did anyone come to check on us. They just gave us some wheat as aid. No one else has come to see us.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, also warned in a report on July 27th that Afghanistan is facing increasing consequences of climate-related rainfall this summer, including drought and unprecedented heat, the risk of floods, a significant decrease in agricultural yields, and the loss of livestock. Previously, The International Committee of the Red Cross had also stated that Afghanistan's vulnerability to natural disasters and the negative effects of climate change, due to having endured 4 decades of war, has led to major economic challenges in the country. Afghanistan is one of the top 10 countries facing the negative consequences of climate change, including drought, floods, irregular rainfall, and a decrease in water resources.
The Taliban government has announced that it has reached an agreement with Qatar, under which 3,100 Afghan workers will be accepted. In just the past 2 days, more than 8,500 people have registered. See the details of this agreement and the public reactions in this exclusive report from Kandahar.
Here in Kandahar, hundreds of people have lined up to register for work in Qatar. Recently, the Taliban government announced that it has reached an agreement with Doha, under which Qatar will accept 3,100 Afghan workers. I registered for cleaning work. I used to go to school and study before. It's been 3 or 4 years that there hasn't been any work. After graduating from university, I was unemployed for 3 or 4 years. I came here to register, hoping that I will be sent for work. The number of applicants is very high. In just 2 days, more than 8,500 people from Kabul and its surroundings have registered to work in Qatar. It is expected that the total number of registrants across Afghanistan will reach around 15,500 people. The professions offered to these applicants include bus driving, cleaning, cooking, engine repair, and electrical specialist. The crisis of unemployment and poverty in Afghanistan is widespread, and according to a United Nations report, Afghanistan is facing one of the deepest humanitarian crises in the world, with almost half of the Afghan population living in poverty. Some of those who have come here looking for work say that they are forced to do so and would rather stay in their own country. No, I don't want to go there out of interest to look for work. If I could find a job in my own country with a salary of 10,000 Afghanis, and in Qatar it was 50,000 Afghanis, I would still prefer to stay here and work in my homeland. The Taliban government has said that it is also negotiating with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Turkey, and Russia to create job opportunities for Afghan citizens.
End of the news.